Level 1. The clueless. You found a dark web marketplace. You downloaded Tor browser. You made an account. You're feeling like a hacker. And then you ordered drugs to your home address using Bitcoin you bought on Coinbase with your government ID. Let's walk through exactly how fast this ends. Coinbase knows your name. They know your bank account. They know your face from the ID photo you uploaded during verification. When you bought Bitcoin, that transaction was permanently recorded on the blockchain, a public ledger that never forgets, never sleeps, and absolutely does not care about your privacy settings. You paid a dark web vendor. That vendor's wallet is already flagged by Chainalysis, a blockchain analytics firm used by 85% of US law enforcement agencies. Your Bitcoin moved from your verified account to a flagged address. That's a link. That's evidence. Now you're waiting for your package. Here's what you don't know. There are postal inspectors, the United States Postal Inspection Service, the USPIS, whose entire job is intercepting suspicious packages. They use X-ray machines, drug-sniffing dogs, and mail barcodes that capture your full name and delivery address the moment that package enters the postal system. When your package gets flagged, they don't just seize it and move on. They do a controlled delivery. A postal inspector in plain clothes knocks on your door, hands you the package, and waits for you to sign. The moment you accept it, you've confirmed you're the intended recipient. Federal agents step out from behind the van. That's it. You spent $50 on drugs. You're now facing federal charges. This is level 1. And somehow, this is not even the most embarrassing way to get caught. Level 2. The I did my research guy. You've been watching the right videos. You know Tor hides your IP. You know Bitcoin is pseudo-anonymous. You know to use a P.O. box. You feel prepared. The issue is that you learn just enough to feel confident and not enough to actually be safe. A very familiar place. The P.O. box. The post office requires a government ID to rent one. The FBI can subpoena post office records. They now have your name, address, and photo on file. The P.O. box was supposed to add a layer of separation. It added a paper trail with your face on it. Your Tor setup, you downloaded Tor and used it correctly, but you also left your regular browser open next to it. You Googled, how long does a dark web package take to arrive? That search is sitting on your internet service provider's servers. ISPs keep logs. When a federal agent sends a subpoena, and they do, routinely those logs are handed over the same afternoon. Your email for the dark web account, you created a fresh one, but you created it from your home network. Your router's IP address, registered to your name, pinged the email provider's servers at the exact moment that account was born. One more link in a chain you didn't know you were building. Here's the thing about chains of evidence. Investigators don't need every link. They need enough of them to establish probable cause. Once they have that, they get a warrant. Once they have a warrant, they get your devices, your hard drive, your browser history, your DMs, and everything else you thought was just sitting there privately. At this level, the FBI isn't working hard. This is paperwork. A subpoena here, a log request there. You're not a needle in a haystack. You're a blinking light with a home address attached. Level 3, the small-time vendor. Now you're not just buying, you're selling. You think operating behind a screen on the dark web makes you invisible? It doesn't. It makes you a higher priority target with the same vulnerability surface. The USPIS has a specialized unit that does nothing but watch dark web marketplace listings and buy from vendors. Undercover postal inspectors, they use the same interface you do. They leave reviews. They rate you 5 stars and build a case file on you for months before making a single arrest. In 2023, Operation Spector resulted in 288 arrests across multiple countries. Investigators seized 850 kilograms of drugs, 64 kilograms of fentanyl, along with 117 firearms and $53 million in cash and cryptocurrency. One coordinated operation. 288 people who thought the dark web made them untouchable. Here's how postal inspectors catch vendors. Patterns. You're shipping from a specific zip code. Your packages have similar weights and dimensions. You ship on the same days of the week. You write your labels the same way. One controlled purchase, one intercepted package, and investigators have your handwriting, your fingerprints, the label printer you used, and the post office you walked into, which is almost always 2 miles from your house. Some vendors get creative. They use public libraries to print labels, they wear gloves, they drive to different cities to mail packages for about 3 weeks. Then they get lazy. And that one Tuesday at noon, when they use the post office around the corner in front of 3 cameras with a direct angle on the label printer, that's the moment investigators had been building toward. At this level, you're not fighting the FBI, you're fighting your own patience, and patience always loses eventually. Level 4, the PGP Disciple. Your communications are locked down. You use PGP encryption, pretty good privacy on every message. Your buyers don't have your real information. Your vendors don't have your real information. You've read the forums, you've done the tutorials, you feel like a professional. Here's what PGP encrypts: the contents of your messages. Here's what it doesn't encrypt: the metadata. Who's messaging who, how often, what times, what marketplace, what accounts. Investigators working dark web cases spend significant time on traffic analysis, not reading messages, just watching the flow. Volume, timing, frequency. These patterns are evidence. More importantly, encryption is only as good as the endpoints. A buyer encrypts their shipping address and sends it to you. You decrypt it on your computer. That address is now sitting in a text file on your hard drive. If your device is ever seized through any other error, any other investigation that brushes past yours, that file is right there. Law enforcement also operates undercover on dark web markets. They pose as buyers, complete transactions, receive packages, and build evidence files on vendors for months before making a move. The moment you ship to an undercover buyer, you've handed investigators a physical package with your handling on it, your shipping origin, and the exact cryptocurrency transaction tied to the sale. PGP is a good tool, it's just not a complete strategy. You're not fighting encryption. You're fighting a system that has been doing this since before most dark web vendors were born. And the system learns faster than the vendors do. Level 5, the market admin. You're not using the dark web anymore. You're running it. You built a marketplace. You have vendors. You have buyers. You have an escrow system. You have a reputation. You also have more federal investigators looking at you than you have staff. Ross Ulbricht launched Silk Road in 2011. By 2013, it had over 100,000 registered users and more than 14,000 active drug listings, processing millions of dollars in transactions monthly. He believed he had built an untouchable system. He was wrong about one thing: himself. Silk Road did not fall because the FBI broke Tor or cracked Bitcoin. It fell because in the early days of promoting his site, Ross Ulbricht posted his personal email address, rossulbricht@gmail.com, on a public Bitcoin forum. One post from 2011, still indexed, still searchable. He also posted a question on Stack Overflow under his real name asking how to configure a Tor hidden service for a PHP application. He changed the username to Frosty afterwards. A federal subpoena revealed the original account name. The internet does not forget, and courts can ask for the original version. When FBI agents arrested him on the 2nd of October 2013, they walked into the San Francisco Public Library and caught him mid-session, laptop open, Silk Road admin panel active, and logged in. They physically grabbed the computer before he could close the lid, preserving his live session as direct evidence. He was convicted on all counts and sentenced to life in prison without parole. The man who built a system sophisticated enough to process millions of dollars in drug transactions was caught because of a Stack Overflow post and a Gmail address he forgot about. The system wasn't the vulnerability. He was. Level 6, the I'm smarter than Ross admin. Silk Road's collapse was public and detailed. Everyone in the dark web ecosystem studied it. The next generation of admins was determined not to make the same mistakes. They made different ones. Alexandre Cazares launched Alphabay in December 2014. By 2017, it was the largest dark web marketplace ever built. 200,000 users, 40,000 vendors, over 350,000 listings. It processed more transactions than Silk Road ever did. Cases, operating under the username Alpha02, believed he was careful. When Alphabay sent welcome emails to new users, those emails contained a return address in the header: pimp_alex_91@hotmail.com. His personal Hotmail account, the one he'd been using since at least 2008, when he posted on a French language tech forum under the username Alpha02 and included his real name, Alexandre Cazares, alongside it. Investigators matched the Hotmail address to the 2008 post. The post linked Alpha02 to a real name. The real name linked to a Canadian national living in Bangkok, Thailand. Thai police raided his home in July 2017. They found him in his bedroom, laptop open, actively rebooting Alphabay's servers to bring the site back online after a law enforcement-induced outage. Live session, live evidence, arrested on the spot. Cazares died by suicide in a Thai jail cell 1 week later while awaiting extradition to the United States. But here's the part that made Operation Bayonet genuinely remarkable. While Alphabay was being taken down, The FBI and Dutch National Police had already been secretly running Hansa Market Alphabet's biggest competitor for a month. On the 20th of June 2017, Dutch investigators quietly seized Hansa's servers and modified the marketplace's source code to capture passwords, PGP keys, and IP addresses from every user who logged in. When Alphabet collapsed, tens of thousands of users migrated to Hansa, seeking safety. They walked directly into a trap. Dutch police logged everything. Over 10,000 buyer addresses captured in 30 days. Then they shut Hansa down too. Operation Bayonet involved the FBI, the DEA, Dutch police, Europol, and 6 additional countries all coordinated, all simultaneous. The 2 largest dark web markets in history were dismantled in 1 week, after one of them had been secretly operated as a honeypot for a month. You weren't just competing against Ross's mistakes. You were competing against 10 countries working in coordination and not telling anyone until it was over. Level 7, the Hitman Seeker. We're leaving drug markets for a moment to discuss a different category, murder for hire on the dark web. Because this section has a detail that cannot be overstated, and it needs to be said plainly before anything else. Every dark web hitman service you have ever found is either an FBI honeypot or a scam. There is no third option. There has never been a confirmed successful dark web murder for hire, not one documented case where someone paid a dark web hitman and the target was actually killed. What exists is a rotating set of FBI-operated sting sites, private scammers who take Bitcoin and vanish, and federal investigators who screenshot everything, trace the cryptocurrency, identify the buyer, and prepare an arrest warrant. In 2022, James Wan of Georgia accessed a dark web marketplace from his cell phone and placed an order to have his girlfriend killed. He transferred approximately $16,000 in Bitcoin, $8,000 up front, $8,000 on completion. The FBI was monitoring the site. They notified the intended victim, placed her under protection, and arrested Wan. He received 7 years and 3 months in federal prison. In 2023, Krista Stone of Utah paid $5,000 in Bitcoin to have an ex-boyfriend's new girlfriend murdered, honeypot, 78 months in prison. Also in 2023, Michelle Murphy of Texas paid $10,510 in Bitcoin for what she believed was a hitman, FBI sting, 9 years in federal prison. The pattern is consistent across dozens of cases. Person in an emotional crisis finds a dark website promising discreet services, sends Bitcoin, feels temporarily relieved, gets arrested within weeks. The site that promises discretion and results is, statistically, a federal agent typing back to you. The Bitcoin you sent is traceable. The search terms that led you there are logged, and the circumstances that started the whole thing will be read aloud in a courtroom. This level exists for anyone who's never heard the phrase, all of these are stings. You've heard it now. Level 8, the crypto mastermind. You've abandoned cash, cash is traceable, banks report suspicious transactions. You've moved fully into cryptocurrency specifically because you believe it's private. And in a narrow technical sense, it is in the same way that a glass window is private if nobody's looking through it. Blockchain is a permanent, public, decentralized record of every transaction ever made. Every wallet address, every amount, every timestamp, every receiving address, it's all there. Always, for everyone, including law enforcement's analytics partners. Chainalysis is a blockchain analytics company used by over 150 government agencies worldwide. They've developed tools that trace cryptocurrency transactions across thousands of hops mixing services, chain swaps, tumbling attempts, cross-chain bridges. They can cluster wallet addresses, identify exchange deposits, and in many cases trace funds back to a verified identity at the point of purchase. As of 2025, Chainalysis has helped law enforcement seize more than $12.6 billion in illicit cryptocurrency. 85% of U.S. law enforcement agencies use blockchain analytics tools as a standard part of investigations. Hydra Market, the largest dark web marketplace ever built, processed $5.2 billion in cryptocurrency transactions between 2015 and 2022, roughly 80% of all dark web market volume globally during that period. Authorities shut it down in April 2022 and seized 543 Bitcoin, worth approximately $25 million at the time. If you're moving money through cryptocurrency with the assumption that no one can trace it, you are betting against a company with 150 government agency clients and a $12.6 billion track record of finding money that people were certain was hidden. And the cryptocurrency mixer you're using, they know about the mixer. The mixer is on their list. Funds going in and coming out of a known mixer is a flagged pattern. The flagged pattern triggers a review. The review finds the exchange where you originally purchased. The exchange has your government ID and a photo of your face. You are not a crypto mastermind. You're a subpoena waiting for a signature. Level 9, the ransomware operator. You're not selling anything, you're not buying anything. You're encrypting hospital systems, corporate networks, city governments, and school districts, and demanding cryptocurrency to restore access. You run a ransomware as a service operation with affiliates, a dark web leak site, and a professional victim negotiation team. You are a criminal enterprise. You are also the FBI's highest priority. Lockbit was one of the most prolific ransomware operations in modern history. More than 2,000 confirmed victims worldwide. Over $120 million in extorted ransom payments. They had affiliates across multiple countries and sophisticated infrastructure spanning dozens of servers. In February 2024, Operation Kronos coordinated across 10 countries including the US, UK, Japan, France, Germany, and Australia simultaneously seized Lockbit's dark web infrastructure, obtained its source code, and recovered more than 1,000 decryption keys for victims. The National Crime Agency then used Lockbit's own seized dark website to publicly name and mock Lockbit's primary developer. The FBI posted countdown messages on Lockbit's own domain. Law enforcement did not just shut the operation down, they took it over and used it as a stage. ALPHV, also known as Black Cat, was the second largest ransomware group globally. Over 1,000 victims, nearly $300 million in ransom collected. The FBI infiltrated ALPHV's network in December 2023, obtained decryption keys for hundreds of victims, and seized their leak site. ALPHV briefly unseized their site hours later in a face-saving move that impressed no one and changed nothing. At this level, law enforcement doesn't just arrest you. They turn your infrastructure against you. They take your source code, they publish your internal communications, they run your dark website and log everyone who checks in. They name you publicly, sanction you internationally, and offer bounties on your location. The scale of your operation doesn't make you harder to catch. It makes the case against you more complete before anyone knocks on the door. Level 10, the ghost. You've been doing this for years. No obvious mistakes that you know of. You've watched everyone else get caught and identified exactly where they slipped. You don't use your real name. You don't log in from home. You rotate wallets, addresses, and identities. You are, by every measure you can think of, invisible. Here is the problem with being invisible. You still have to interact with the world, and every interaction leaves something behind, and investigators have time. Genesis Market was a dark web marketplace selling stolen digital identities, browser fingerprints, session cookies, saved passwords, and active account access for prices starting at $1 per victim. It ran from 2018. It had access to 1.5 million compromised computers and more than 80 million stolen credentials. Its operators were methodical. They ran it for 5 years. Operation Cookie Monster, executed in April 2023, arrested 119 people across 17 countries in a single coordinated operation. Not because the market's administrators made one obvious public error, because investigators spent years mapping the network, tracing transactions, identifying patterns across jurisdictions, building individual cases on dozens of separate targets, and then coordinated a global simultaneous takedown that gave no one time to warn anyone else. At level 10, the FBI is not waiting for you to slip. They're building a case around everything you've already done. Transactions from 3 years ago, connections that looked untraceable at the time. Every jurisdiction you've touched now has a case file with your activity in it. Silk Road ran for 2 years, Alphabay ran for 3, Hydra ran for 7, Genesis ran for 5. Every single one ended. Not because the technology failed, because sustained law enforcement attention applied over time with international coordination and analytical tools that improve every year is a different kind of opponent than you're prepared for. The FBI doesn't have to catch you today. They just have to outlast you. And at every level, from the person who ordered to their home address with traceable Bitcoin, to the person who spent years building the most sophisticated criminal infrastructure in dark web history, the end has been the same. The dark web was never a place to hide, it was always just a longer timeline.